And there are men in the box, and it comes for Pablo Hernandez, and Pablo Hernandez scores a goal for Leeds United! Oh! Goal, a goal, a goal! Yeboah. On he goes! Oh! Even by his standards. Breathtakingly brilliant.
Hang on a minute, here's Howson, can he win it? Yes he can! Leeds United are on their way to Wembley! Johnny Howson again!
And the ball's over Brown, and this is Beckford, he just ran away from him, but he'll still get a strike in and goal! And score at the Stretford end for Leeds United! And it doesn't get any better than that for a Leeds centre-forward.
Good ball, Becchio well placed! Leeds United draw level on aggregate!
Well, the roof has just been lifted off Elland Road. What an incredible noise we are witnessing here.
Well, hello everybody, you're very welcome back to LeedsBros for Talking Points. Leeds United did get bet, unfortunately, 3-0 down in the AMEX Stadium by Brighton. So we're here to break down all the talking points through that game. As always, guys, please make sure you're dropping a like on the video. And, of course, hit that subscribe button. As you can tell, it's just myself and Dylan here tonight. Jam is away. I think he just wanted to not do this with Dylan. He didn't want to talk about this game.
I don't blame him.
So just myself and Dylan here tonight. But make sure you're getting your comments in the comment section below, guys. We really want a good debate because I think we really need to break down that performance yesterday, Dylan, don't we? Because they're the type of games that I think they hurt a little bit more than the others, don't they? So we're here to break it all down. But Dylan, it is the day after. How are you feeling after? Because look, we obviously did player ratings straight after the game yesterday. We were probably a little bit brutal, to be honest with you. But a lot of the comments were agreeing with us, and we don't like doing them. So them type of ratings, and calling the players out for poor performances. But at the end of the day, Dylan, you just have to go by what you see, isn't it? It wasn't a good performance from Leeds United at all yesterday.
No, yeah, I don't even know where to begin, Darren, if I'm being completely honest. I think from the first minute, we looked off it. I think Brighton controlled the game.
Yeah.
Couldn't get near them. There was no urgency at times, you could say. It's kind of performance that makes you question, what's actually going on out there at all, or in there, behind closed doors. There was no bite, no aggression, no press, nothing. Brighton kind of, they were kind of strolling around at times, I thought. Leeds were kind of chasing it an awful lot.
It felt like Brighton didn't have to do much, Dylan. I rewatched it again today. It was a hard watch again, and they didn't have to do a lot to win the game, didn't it? That's what I felt like, that they didn't even have to get out second gear.
They were just passing it about, making it look so easy. We were just kind of stood there watching it at times. And, it was something that you said yesterday, and it kind of stuck by me a little bit. You can lose games, and that's fair enough, but you can't lose like that. There's no passion, no fight. I think that's really what hurts the most for us as fans. So, yeah, I'm a bit numb. I'm not going to lie. I am annoyed. Something needs to change.
It feels like on the road as well, Dylan. Like what you said there, there's ways of losing football matches. And I think as Leeds fans this year, we're not naive. We know we're coming up. It's a big jump up from the Championship to the Premier League. We know we're going to lose games of football matches. We know we're coming up against teams with much better quality than us. But that doesn't mean you roll over, Dylan, and let your bellies get tickled, don't you? You work with what you have. And that's probably what the most disappointing thing. It's the manner of the defeat for me yesterday, not the defeat itself, of how we were just below par. We lacked fight. We lacked quality, determination. The 3 goals that they scored, we will get into a little bit more in depth and individually where they came from. But 3 very well avoidable goals where, cutbacks into the box and players are just tapping the ball into the net. So, yeah, an all-around really poor performance. And away from home, Dylan, I think it is coming like a real worry now with 5 games on the road, only 1 win, and that was the away win against Wolves. And let's be honest with ourselves, they're a bad team. They haven't even won yet this season after 10 games. Just like their manager as well. And I know on the road is going to be particularly hard for Leeds United this season, but if you look at the Fulham game, like how that was a battling performance, and yeah, it was a bad loss and it was an own goal, but you take some comfort knowing that we were competitive.
Yeah.
The last 2 away from home, Dylan, against Burnley, and particularly yesterday, we haven't been competitive at all on the road, and I don't think it's going to wash in the Premier League. We're going to need to start picking up points on the road as well. And I'm not saying Brighton is a game for it, but you look particularly at the Burnley one as well. We lacked fight, lacked any sort of quality in that game as well, and the exact same thing yesterday against Brighton. So, the defeat, not a surprise, but the performance for me, that was the surprising one.
To go back to Fulham, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think it was a freak accident, but of every game that we played so far, that one, it doesn't hurt, but same thing, I'm kind of impressed and pleased with the fight and determination that the boys did do that day.
Yeah.
Same thing, it was a freak accident, but go back to the Burnley game and yesterday, for example, I don't know what the game plan was. I just don't know, and I'm no expert, I'm just a fan like anyone else, but we were pressing, sitting back, there was nothing kind of controlled, it was messy at times, Brighton had to pick up their, had time to pick their passes, as you said, they didn't really have to work for anything, Brighton. They made it look so easy.
They're a really good pressing side, and I seen a stat today when I done a little bit of digging before coming into this, is that they have the most turnovers in the Premier League in the opposition half, and we tried to play out against that. And this is what I'm saying, naivety, and we've done it against Arsenal as well. They're a high pressing side. Their turnovers up in the final third as well is really good, and it felt like then, why are we doing this against the side that we know are really good at this press? Why not go and bypass the press in towards the midfield? And it showed Dylan in the lead up to the first goal. Lucas Perry, plays a killer, basically a hospital pass into Ethan Ampadu, surrounded by two men. And it's the phase before we get the goal. But then even after that, then Dylan, we were all over the place, and good months to try and close down. I think it was Mintu, he comes out to close down, and he just clips the ball around them, and they're in behind. Perry tries to close the angle, and it's an easy ball in the box. And well back, Dylan, it's probably going to be the easiest goal he scores all season. He taps in the road on RBL. They're just caught ball watching, and he easy tap into an empty net. So that's the frustrating thing. Then going 1-0 down, and so I think it was 11 minutes in, and then we give ourselves an uphill task.
They were just completely playing us out of the park. And as you said there, it's the goals. You go back to the situation what we've just said there, we don't mind, not that we don't mind, but you can accept a loss if the boys fight. And it's the manner of the 3 goals that went in. And they're all very similar goals if you go back and watch them. And most of them are tap-ins. And that's the frustrating thing. And, I've said it, you've said it, and certain people in the chat have said it. Our attacking threat is very poor at the minute. I think we can all agree. Our goal scoring record doesn't really prove for itself. But our defensive record and our midfield itself kind of holds the unit and the stability of Leeds United as it is in this Premier League. But, I just have written down here, it felt like we had no control in midfield for me. I don't know about you. And it brings us back to the topic about formation, tactics, etc. with the 3 in midfield. And one player in particular who really, really frustrated me, do you know what, I don't even care, really annoyed me, is Ethan Ampadu. Severely. Bad, he really did. And, he's meant to be a leader. And we've had a conversation similar before. Maybe it was in the Championship about Ethan Ampadu. And I had the same thing. Regardless if you have a bad game, everyone's entitled to that. It happens.
Yeah,
we're not machines in the sense that we're going to give 110%. As a performer,
you need to give the effort. If the quality is not there, you
110%.
Still need to give the effort. Still need to give the effort.
And he just, he obviously gave away that yellow card as well, and it was just complete another anger and frustration. I was completely let down, and I just want to give a mention out to every single one of them away fans that went to that yesterday. That's the killer for a 5-hour journey down and a 5-hour journey back, and to watch that absolute abomination, if that's what you want to call it. But
it's an abomination.
I think Brian just played us out of the park. They're running through us for.
That's what I don't think they did. They didn't break a sweat. It felt like to me, it just felt like Leeds just rolled over and let their bellies get tickled, which unfortunate. We'll get into a little bit after go. We'll get into a couple of the comments here. The comments are flying in here. Scott says, "Evening, bros. Another poor showing on the road. Forest is a massive if it wasn't already, and I think so as well. I think Forest is a really big game. A lot of pressure heaped on that one now again on Daniel Farke." Aiden says, "No tempo, intensity, no heart. Have the players lost faith in Farke's tactics? Possibly away away from home, buddy. Yeah, because we're getting poor performances away from home, aren't we? So yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Danny Rumsey says, smash a like and subscribe, please do that, guys. That would be great. And Shane here was one of them traveling support down there yesterday. He says, all right, lads, home and pissed off. And I don't blame you, buddy. I don't blame you. Long trip down there to watch that. So I agree with you. Mr. Whitesnake says, message for you on FB Darren. Cheers, buddy. I'll check it out after this. I don't be on it much, but I will check it out. And Danny says, for me, yesterday was on the players running in midfield and nobody tracking them, stood watching them running behind. And yeah, I agree with you, Danny. I agree with you 100%. You can't at this level watch your runners. You might get away with it in the Championship. In the Premier League, you don't. You have to be tracking your runners.
You said it's schoolboy, Darren. It's
the basics of football. Yeah, it's the basics of football. The basics. Emmett Oliver says, hello, lads. Joining late here. Let's all remember we are newly promoted, so with a target of 17. What did fans expect? Comfortable mid-table, top 6. This is what the fight of survival is like. Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And I think like that going into the game yesterday, probably a little bit of naivety for me, thinking that Leeds United could go down there and get a point or possibly pick up all 3. And I think reality in your heart, it's always going to be very tough going out to Brighton. But is what kind of me and Dylan are saying, Emma, is like there's ways to lose football matches. And I'm not okay, but Leeds United are going to lose football matches. I think we've all made peace with that. But you still want to see the performance going in. And then if the quality beats you, you hold your hands up. Like Arsenal away, you hold your hands up and go, look at there and unbelievable. So there's no way we can compete with that. Yesterday we didn't even compete. We didn't even get going. And that's what it's the performance, not the result, I think is why it has a couple of fans, annoyed over it. Shane says Ampadu was poor yesterday and a couple of games also as well. He has been up and down. He definitely needs to get them performance levels back up. Michael says, hi, bros. We didn't press or give them something to think about. We tried to play football in the middle of the park. Sometimes you just need to go direct. Should have been hassling their backline. I agree with that as well. We lost out a lot in midfield, didn't we? I remember Tanaka as well a couple of times being pipped off him. Longstaff as well. He was intercepted a couple of times and a couple of poor passes. We kept giving it away in midfield. And
it's the poor passes, Darren, as well. What's niggling me. Just
like easy passes, yeah. And we spoke about it. It was something that we highlighted massively, that the game was going to be won or lost in the midfield. And when Leeds have the ball, they're going to need to look after. And we didn't. We just kept giving it back to them yesterday, willy-nilly. Shane said we all called for Bial to play. We did, buddy. And now I think with the performance that he put in against Brighton yesterday, I think he's after handing a short back to Pascal Struijk, to be honest with you, lads. We talk about coming on and winning that short. Like he was poor. He was poor yesterday.
This is it. How do I say? This brings us back to the board. Considering this is a player that's meant to be,
£15 million,
a good signing for the Premier League. And look, it's still early days. I get that. I watched 3 games in. But he was great, obviously, against West Ham. But as I said, you take the West Ham out of it. Like, West Ham were poor. They were very poor. It was bad, we just done our bit and got out of there with 3 points. But I mean, yesterday, it kind of showed, what he's like under pressure, and I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. He's ropey. He's nervous. But I think with Struijk at the back, you feel a bit more secure and a bit more, more confidence in it. But then Struijk has a fault of his own as well, with sometimes not getting back in time or, misplacing the pass. So they're all for it at the minute. They all kind of do it. So I don't know. It's just, he has wrecked, lads. I'm going to be honest with him. He is wrecked. I just thought something needs to change. Something really needs to change. Change tactics. Bring back Bamford. I don't know. Do something.
Yeah. Comments are flowing in, guys. Keep them coming in there. We'll get you as many as we possibly can. Shane says, been to away games. The thing that pisses me off is the way that Farke has us playing 11 men at the halfway line. Yeah, I agree with you, buddy. We definitely need to change something up away from home because it doesn't seem to be working apart from Wolves. And as I said, they're a poor side. So we definitely need to be looking at the away games to try and start picking up points on the road. Aidan says the players seem to be rudderless and don't know what to do in the in-game tactics management is non-existent as well. And it does feel like that from Farke as well. He's more reactionary to what's going on the field rather than proactive. Dylan. He lets it run on a little bit longer than what he should do. But yeah, look, going back down to the first half, then after that, it felt like their goal kind of gave us a little kick up the hole a little bit. We kind of huffed and puffed after that. We tried to get forward. We tried to create the only real opportunity you remember in the first half is the Bogle one across the box that Calvert-Lewin, for me, should be throwing himself at a little bit more to try and get there to it. But we huffed and puffed, and then they had opportunities, Dylan, to go 2 or 3-0 up in the game. Welbeck had a really good opportunity again. We were dispossessed in midfield, and it was just went past the post. should have been 2-0, and then Minta had another one down as well. Just he should be scoring that one as well. So we were lucky, Dylan, not to go in at half time 2 or 3 down as well. So when it was 1-0 at half time, and we spoke about it on the watch along and the fan half time phone in, is that was the positive we took from that first half, that it was only 1-0.
Yeah.
And the second half we need to come out fighting.
And we didn't. We simply didn't. And brings us back to the topic about Daniel Farke and his man management when it comes to changing the system or changing the game in game, of course. And Plan B. And Michael is a voucher for it as well. He said it numerous times, and that's the frustrating thing is when Leeds are trailing, whether it is 1-2, 3-0, whatever it may be, you don't give up. You need to show some sort of character. I sound like Roy Keane when I say that. Some sort of character. And you said it yesterday. You look at Ampadu, I think it was 3 minutes to go or something, and it went out for a corner for Brighton, and I think Rodon made a block and it went out for a corner, and you could see him kind of like clapping hands and revving all the boys up, and I'm kind of saying that's a bit little too late, if you ask me, in order now without 3-0 down, we're not going to win this game. I know you're hanging on by a thread to try and fight, but I mean, he didn't show what a leader should show in my eyes yesterday, and I know I'm pinpointing him. They all have to blame, but it simply comes down to if Farke's not getting results, the board look at him and go, right, we're going to have to replace him or get rid of him.
Book stops.
You have to look as well though at the players itself as well. They're not just Daniel Farke as well.
Of course.
And the main man there is Ethan Ampadu. He's our leader. He's our captain on that team, and simple as that for me as well. Like, they're all to blame for her completely. I'm not just singling out Ampadu, but he's
Mr. Whitesnake has a good one now here, Dylan. This is it, the nail on the head, and I think this is where my frustration come from as well. If you're gonna go down, at least go down fighting. Don't go down. Don't roll over, get your bellies rubbed, and that's what I felt like we done yesterday. We didn't even have to Brighton didn't have to get out of second gear to win that game yesterday. That's the annoying thing. They should have to fight tooth and nail to get them 3 points and not have a handy to them as easy as it was yesterday. Richard Hogan says Bial isn't the ball playing defender. Knocking it about isn't his strength. You can see that he does look a little bit awkward with the ball, Richard, doesn't he? And that's what I think now Stroke has as his starting spot back, Dylan, because Bial just handed it back to him with that really poor performance yesterday. And Forest will be confident after Scone game going into absolutely they will. Absolutely, new manager bounce under Sean Dyche, draw against Manchester United. Absolutely, they will be. Dylan, obviously, then we the second half, then we came out, and again, it felt like we didn't make any changes at half time, which some of us were calling for. But Daniel Farke, you're not going to get that from him. But you're expecting a little bit more of a reaction in the second half, Dylan. And we didn't get it. We huffed and we puffed. You could see all Brighton's quality. We had no real quality going forward apart from Okafor on the left hand side. He was our real kind of standout player. Obviously then. We didn't really create much. The game kind of ebbed and flowed. You always felt like Brighton looked dangerous going forward, that they could score at any minute. We made our 2 substitutions, and it's like we made the first move. We showed our hand, and we brought on Stack and James, and then 2 minutes after they brought on, then we're 2-0 down, and then that's when you say the game's gone now, isn't it? Like you're chasing it.
Too little, too late. And then regardless of that, if you had made them subs earlier, and we had been 1-0 down, quite possibly, even at half time, if you had made them. It could have been a bit of a different game. It's the start of a new, fresh second half, and it's too little, too late. Darren. The subs thing is driving me mad since Daniel Farke took over Leeds. If I'm being completely honest, we talked about it before as well against Norwich. When we're trailing a game, and you could see by Farke he's trying to get something out of this. He took on a load of strikers. To more or less, and it worked once. It hasn't worked since. And
I wouldn't really mind that though yesterday, Dylan, because when we did make the changes and we reverted the 4-2-3-1, and Aronson went into the number 10 position, for me, Aronson was non-existent yesterday. He wasn't effective going forward, so you take him off, and he's entitled to one of them off days. Everybody is. Everyone's having an off days. But then you're looking there. This is the ideal time to bring Joel Perot on. He's played that position in the championship. He's a goal scorer. He scores goals. Bring him on up there in the match. Get him a little bit tighter, and let's see if he can score a goal. So you're your top goal scorer from last season, sitting on the bench when you need goals. And that's, for me, that's what frustrates me there as well. And if he's not getting on in a game like that, when is Joe Perot going to get on the pitch then for Leeds United? So, as you said, he didn't really kind of go gun-ho from what we're usually seeing from like what against Burnley when everyone went on the pitch, and Spurs as well. It was the same thing as well. He chucked everyone on the pitch and just to see what would stick. Yesterday, it was like you tried to be a little bit more pragmatic, but we went away from the 4-3-3 to the 4-2-3-1 like we did last season. And I thought then we looked even more just disjointed, Dylan, after we made the substitutions and we made the change. We seemed all over the place then. It seemed like we completely lost our foothold in the game.
Is it a thing, Darren? You know, we talked about me, you, and actually Matty from Imagine Not Being Leeds. Different horses for different courses, and you know, throughout the season, last season, after Ethan Ampadu and Ilya Gruev came back from injury, we kind of seen Gruev start to play a bit more away from home. And I'm not necessarily saying Gruev is our answer. What I'm trying to say is there should be certain players for certain games. Going back to that as well, about the competitive and you know, rotation of the squad. I think that's what needs to be done. I know fitness and I know injuries play a big part in that, but I was seeing a comment there from someone there a few minutes ago about Nanto, getting him back into his team. I completely agree. I agree, but at the end of the day, he's not going to solve our issues. He's not going to solve them at the back.
I think at the minute, Dylan, like it feels like we're fighting with one hand tied behind our back at the minute with the injuries. Dan James, again, a couple of minutes. It's the most minutes he's had since he's been injured. So you're hoping that's more minutes in his legs. We could try get him back in the team. Willie Nanto, we were hoping he was going to be in the match day squad. Obviously, he wasn't fit enough to make the bench. So you need these players back as well. So there's a part of me going, yeah, we want to make changes and we want to influence the game. We want Farke to do the changes. But then you look on the bench there, Dylan, and there's not really much to choose from, in fairness to Farke. You have the likes of your Lucas Meche, who I don't think is an out-and-out goal scorer. He decides to put him on instead of Dominic Calvert-Lewin, who, by the way, is meant to have a little bit of an injury. It's going to be interesting to see if that one's a bad one. I think it's an abductor quad injury, they're saying. But then you've Joe Pirro there, like what I said, a goal scorer. You want to bring him on then and try and put the ball in the back of the net and see if you can create something. So part of it, Dylan, does go hand in hand with the recruitment side of things, that we obviously didn't go get that extra attacker that we wanted in the transfer window, and it goes hand in hand with the injuries that we have as well, because we've very little options by way of creativity going forward now as well. And it feels like at the minute everything is just being thrown on Okafor. Give the ball to Okafor and let him try and do something. Very much like the way it was in the Premier League under Jesse Marsh that time when Nanto broke in. We were very much Nanto FC, funnel that ball out to the left hand side, and let's see if he can create something to us. You can't be that one-dimensional, Dylan. You need others to chip in.
Regardless of the outcome, I think the board now, and going back to, I can't remember who it was, the comment there about, you know, the fight for survival, I get that. I completely understand. I don't expect Leeds to be right up there in the league, you know, kind of comfort and, you know, more or less proving your survival. But I mean, you know, exactly what you said, it's the manner of the defeat. It's simply not just the scoreline. You look at the scoreline of Brighton, you say 3-0. If Leeds had went out there and done their absolute best, you'd come away from it similar to Fulham, as we just mentioned. You'd say fair enough. Yeah. But come in January, if look, I don't know, I can't tell time, but if Daniel Farke is still here, I would like to see recruits coming in, whether it is the loan market or
we need to,
whatever it may be. And then if he's not here and we've a new manager and we still don't go for that loan, how do you expect that man or that new person to deal with it? Well, I don't want to be talking like that.
But you're right, though. It's a genuine question to ask him, because you do have a lot of the fan base now calling for Farke's head, and it's whatever manager comes in, they still have this same squad, they still have the same issues, still have the injuries, players coming back. So at the minute, it is a bumpy road now. That against Brighton was meant to be, you know, our fully fit squad. It was back, apart from Willie Nanto being there. So if you're only missing one player and that's a poor performance, that goes hand in hand as well. You have to ask the question that we do nearly have a fully fit squad there, and it was a poor showing like that as well. So I don't think it's all doom and gloom, Dylan. I said it was just the performance yesterday. That's what annoyed me about it, not really the result. But when you look at it, the bigger picture, the grand scheme of things, after 10 games, 5 points above the relegation zone. If you had said that to any Leeds fan at the start of the season, you'd say, yeah, I'd take it, absolutely. But you can't see that the issues away from home are starting to creep in. And I look forward to this Forest game now, of what sort of Leeds United show up at the Forest ground, because that is a big game. And it's a big game in context of our season, not season defining, but they're one of our relegation rivals. And if you look at how bad West Ham got to win today against Newcastle, you look how bad they've been, how bad Wolves have been, it looks like their kind of colours are nailed to the mast, barring a miraculous turnaround. So you're looking at the likes of Forest, us, Brentford are kind of down there fighting for that third spot. Burnley are there as well. are fighting for that kind of third spot. So these are the games, Dylan, that you need to be picking up points. You can't be losing this game. Again, you want all 3 points again for us. But if you go and pick up a point on the road, it's the international break, you reset and you work on a lot of the issues then that are going on, and you come back from the international break looking a little bit better. But that Forest game, it was mentioned there by Emma, that's a really big game now for Leeds United and a really big game for Daniel Farke.
Exactly. It was Daniel Farke alone, and I wouldn't be surprised if I did see someone on X saying, with owners now on the boards, the way they're, we've seen it with Forest when it came to Ange Postecoglou, of the owner. Obviously, not saying Leeds are going to do something like that, but it'll be fairly rapidly if he doesn't get the score that he needs here, or the result that he needs. I can see Farke's job being on the line. I'm being completely honest with you. I don't want it to be that case because I do like Farke. I'm not Farke out at all. Yeah. I simply just wish the stubbornness in him, and that kind of freedom to let the shackles off, change when it needs to be changed, and just make them subs there a little bit earlier. So, in hindsight, you're kind of, what I'm saying here is, you're happy with Farke, but you want him to change. It's not necessarily. He's the best manager we've had points for Leeds United history. We've seen it last year. He's a great manager. He's great at bringing players back from injury. I know it's the backboard, but what I mean by is whether it's confidence, whatever he pulls them to the side. We've seen what he done with Archie Gray. We've seen what he's capable of doing. It's a minor speed bump in the Premier League. He needs to adapt. He's been given what he has to work with. So what I'm trying to say, I cut him a bit of slack at the minute, but at the same time, I expect more.
This is very true, Dylan, this comment as well, is squad size, very minor roles, won't play much. Barnell, Byram, Gruev, Pirro, Meche, and possibly Willie Nanto. And it does, Dylan, and as I said, when the transfer window closed, I didn't want it to be an excuse, but it is, Dylan. It just shows the more we're going into the season, the poor recruitment that we have, and with the injuries in them positions that we were already light in as well. And these players that we've brought in are still here that aren't going to get much minutes in this team. So I totally agree with that comment there as well. And it opens up your eyes a little bit to kind of what Farke has to work with and what we have to work with in the Premier League as well. We always knew it was going to be a massive uphill battle, but regardless of the opposition and the quality that they have, you still want a little bit of fight in this Leeds United. So that's the minimum we ask as Leeds United fans, is that when you put that Leeds shirt on, because we'd all die to put that Leeds shirt on, you go out there, you give 110%, and if it's not enough, then we'll clap you off and say, you've done your best today. Yes, it was nowhere near good enough effort-wise. Never mind about the quality. We know we don't have the quality. I'd even say we'd go as far as saying that we probably, going forward, we have the worst striking options and attacking options in this division when you look at it as a whole. The minimum requirement is effort, and we didn't see that yesterday. That's what annoys me the most. Emmett says, Brighton are a lot better side than Fulham. Absolutely, they are. Absolutely, 100% well-established, well-run club as well. So we know that. Dylan, when we move on, we talk about the second goal then from Gomez. And again, it felt very much carbon copy of like the first one. Gabby Goodmunson gets done really, really badly on the left-hand side. And both of our full-backs, it has to be pointed out, were poor yesterday. We'll get on to the third as well about Boga. But he's done. And again, Gomez floats into the box, free as a board. The easiest goal he'll score in his career, taps it into the back of the net. Is that something that you think that Brighton looked at? Because it's not really a coincidence. 3 goals from these similar type of goals yesterday. Is that something that Leeds United need to be looking at, them late runners into the box, or was it just a day yesterday where we just simply weren't picking up our runners?
I think, going back to what Farke said after the game, I think within 10-15 minutes we looked shaky. I think Brighton knew that. They forced us back to press. Me and you constantly said it on the watch-along there, and the press from them was so good. We just couldn't get it out, and when we did, we were misplacing the pass, or going back to Perry, same thing, and I was getting hooped up to DCL. But I think at the back we were a mess in general. We no way too open, no communication, players ball watching, and every time Brighton went forward, you felt like they were going to score, and they clearly did with Gomez in that second goal. Yeah. So when you look at it because it's Brighton, and a Premier League established club, I just think the manner, as we go back to again, the defeat, and why the defenders, they just seem so laxy-daisy about it there, and they weren't picking up the runners. And it goes back to the schoolboy errors. It's way too easy, and Brighton definitely knew that 100%.
That's because the basics. That's the basics of defending. Yes,
but within, as I said, within 10 minutes, and I agree with Farke, we were shaky, and they knew it. Their tails were up, and they knew. We might not have to necessarily have a shot on goal here, lads. We're just going to dominate and play it around, and they weren't watching their runners because they were just pressing, and just couldn't handle it. Leeds simply could not handle it.
Yeah, Great. Let's get into a few more comments here, Dylan. So Connell says, we need to put Ampadu back alongside Rodon as centre-back. James to replace Aronson is obvious. Pirro to replace DCL. Okafor needs to be managed carefully like Solomon was last season. Nanto as sub. I do agree with some of them. I just think that they don't see Ampadu as a centre-back, and I think that probably told in the summer recruitment with bringing in Borneo and Bial that it was very much on Farke and probably the backroom staff's head that Ampadu was going to be our midfielder for this season. So I don't really see Ampadu going back in there, barring we have a lot of injuries back there, Connell. I agree. Look at Aronson. You would say, obviously, his best game came against West Ham. He deserved to start against Brighton yesterday, but he wasn't good enough. So I agree with that as well. Dan James minutes, he's starting to build up the minutes back in his legs. So you would like to hope that he's going to come back in and have an impact on that right-hand side. And Pirro, I agree with you as well. We need to see Pirro a little bit more. And if it does mean DCL now coming out and Pirro coming in, and we do have to change the system, I think needs must, because the lack of goals, and we're starting to ship goals now as well. It goes hand in hand, doesn't it, buddy? And Okafor as well. It always feels like he's just not fully fit yet in these 10 games. It always feels like he's gets a little bit of a knock and he's not fully fit yet. So again, we need to get him fully fit as well. That guy, most creative player. I would argue Okafor is our most important player this season. Richard Hogan says, Dillo saying Farke is a great manager is pretty generous. I do not believe that the squad isn't good enough. I think that we're not getting the maximum out of the players and don't rotate the squad. Yeah. Look, I think he's done great things, obviously getting us up, and like Dylan said, the 100 points and stuff like that. The question mark is going to be over him. Is he a great manager, and can he do it in the Premier League? And we'll know this season. This season will tell that with Daniel Farke. And I think we're all erring on the side that he isn't that in the Premier League, but who knows? We just have to wait and see what way it's going to develop. Farke's away record is terrible. How many times have we conceded the first goal? Midfielders didn't pick up the runners. Why does Perry come off his line for the first goal? Exactly, yeah. Away from home is a real worry. Is a real worry for me. You need to pick up a couple of points on the road in the Premier League this season. The big boys will always feel like a free hit if we could go there, and possibly like at Anfield against Liverpool, you go there and hope with a bit of a free hit. But against the likes of this side, and look at Brighton are probably going to finish anywhere 5 to 10 places ahead of us in the Premier League this season, but you're hoping you can go there and be competitive and possibly nick a point. But it is the likes of your Forest now next Sunday, is that's where we have to be picking up points on the road. So, yeah, I agree with you there. Perry coming off his line for the first one, I do have question marks. He's done similar to the third as well. I don't really get it because he's just vacating his whole goal, and it is that one simple ball across the box, Dylan, isn't it? And you're leaving a free net.
No man's land.
Yeah, for both of them. He was poor, yes. He made one really good save. I think again it was from Minta as well, but one that he clawed back. But other than that, I thought his kicking was poor yesterday, and his positional play was poor yesterday. His handling was okay. So we need better from Perry. Shane says, I love this club, and we all want what's best. And if Farke isn't what we need, then someone who is will fight for us. Yeah, look at the question marks. It's going to be like this, isn't it, Dylan, this season, that if we win a game, it's okay, the pressure's off, and then we always say if we lose a game, the pressure is going to be back on Farke. And I think it's going to be that kind of, that spinning head this season, that we win a game, it's fine. We lose a game, the pressure is on Farke, and he's going to have to learn how to deal with that this season. But it is, in theory, you lose against Forest. Again, that criticism is heaped on tenfold again on Farke.
I think it'll be very, very, very difficult for him to bounce back after Forest. I think the fan base will have a complete meltdown. Look, we're already having a meltdown. There's a lot of negative comments coming in already. I've seen Leeds have put up, thanks to the travelling away fans, safe journey home, etc. And the comments underneath it were crazy. Like, it's still a fight for survival. I wouldn't be chopping the heads off just yet. Same thing, I agree with the comment. What did we expect? But, you go back to just injuries and players are simply not at it. We'll leave Farke aside here for a minute, but it's the manner of our defending and all, look, going forward as well, let's be honest with you, there's no creativity up front, no movement. And the main thing, no end product.
Like that, Dylan, part of it, look, I think this is half and half of the managers. The players have to take some responsibility in this as well, because at the end of the day, Farke can't go out there and run for them. Farke can't go out there and put the ball in the back of the net for them as well. It's up to them to go and try and do it as well. So, if you're giving 100% effort as you as a human and the tactics aren't working, well, then that 100% falls with the manager. But yesterday, I didn't see players that were giving 100% for the badge. I didn't see that. That doesn't fall on Farke. And we can sit here and, of course, we're going to critique Farke's tactics and his substitutions, and he should have played this and he should have played that. Pirro should have came on earlier. the be all and end all of it is still a lot of them players, and too many of them players yesterday were non-existent and didn't put the effort in. So that they have to take a look at themselves in the mirror as well. So we do have to criticize the players as well. The players don't get away scot-free, particularly our fullbacks as well. Then, like mentioned, with good months and like probably his worst game in a league short yesterday. Jaden Bogle, like, it wasn't the Jaden Bogle we're used to seeing, Dylan, over the last 18 months. He was so poor. And it showed in the third goal yesterday. I don't know what he was at. He was under no pressure. I don't know whether he was trying to kick it, control it, or pass it. I don't know what he was trying to do when Rutter runs through. And again, Dylan, similar for the third goal, Gomez is free as a board and taps it into an empty net as Perry comes across. So that needs to be looked at, Dylan, of why were them 3 goals conceded in that manner. Very easy goals, because again, Brighton didn't have to work too hard to put the ball in the back of Leeds net yesterday, and really it could have been more as well.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. And, go back to what we said about, the structure of the defence and the midfield. We'll just concentrate on the defence for a second. But, this is meant to be our strongest kind of structure of the team is the defence and the midfield, considering that we highly invested in it and certain individuals. Obviously Jaden Bogle, as you mentioned there. But I feel like a player of his quality, and he's been in the Premier League before, and look, he was unbelievable in the Championship last year, and I'm not going to be too harsh on him because I think he's done very well this year, considering. But just clear your lines. I don't know what he was at as well, I have to agree, but then the other end, I just bringing it back to the attacking threat of it. Well, we didn't even test the goalkeeper, at all. And when we did get into good areas, the final ball was shit. It was the same story again and again and again. And we can't keep relying on moments. We need structure, and it all starts from the back. We know this, and if the back can't do it and the midfield can't do it, then how is the strikers going to do it? And the games that we have won, everyone's kind of been at it, and we might drop a goal here or there, but I don't know. I'm just completely deflated after that one. That's it. Really ruined my.
I agree with Aiden here as well, Dylan. And this is it. This is what your attention turns to as well. That we know Brighton are a well-run Premier League club. We know they're an established Premier League club, but they're not the quality that we're going to come up against this season. And I only seen it today that tickets said the information came out for the Man City game away from home. You look at that as well, Dylan. Like, if we show up, we rock to the Etihad and put in a performance like that, that could be 6 or 7 easily. Easy 6 or 7 with the quality that they have. So what Aiden says here, Farke doesn't tighten things up, that we'll get tanked. And I don't mind it away from home, and I don't want Farke to feel like that this is anti-football. It's okay against these bigger sides to be a little bit more solid, to keep the ball. Don't be naive and try and play through the line against, statistically wise, you look at Brighton have the best turnovers in the Premier League. So if you put 2 and 2 together, why would you play out from the back, bypass their press, go in behind, go a little bit more direct and get them turned? Instead, you could just gradually see it in the first 10 minutes. Brighton were working their way up the pitch and gradually put the pressure on Leeds United, and we just couldn't get out. And that's when the sloppy pass came from as well, because their press was so intense on Leeds United. We've seen Tanaka, who's supposedly one of the best in this league squad at keeping the ball and keeping possession. He was even giving it away yesterday. So that's where it should resonate with Farke a little bit more. And look what you said, Dylan, we're just fans. Like, we're not coaches or anything like that. Like, that's where it should go to him, is go, my team's under a lot of pressure here. I need to change this a little bit. Start telling me full-backs and me centre-backs to go a little bit further and get players around Dominic Calvert-Lewin a little bit. We did do it for a period of time, and I was kind of happy enough with that. Then I said, right, we're going to bypass their press. But when I went up to Calvert-Lewin, then he's no one up around him. So it's like you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. But if you're going to go a little bit longer, then you need to get players in around Calvert-Lewin then for the knockdown. There was times then when he was taken in and he had Lewis, Duncan, Van Heck then around him, and he's 3 men, and he can't do anything with it. So,
but this is what I'm saying about, brings us back to changing in-game management or even beforehand. And if you're looking at that before the game, going, Brighton's pressing the best turnovers, etc., you hit the nail on the head there. Well, then don't play to their strengths. Yeah. Don't give them the reason to come and invite us on or to get the ball off us. And then, DCL itself, I think it was actually Matt, the comment there. I think it was Matt that said it. He struggled against Lewis Dunk yesterday. He was all over him. He just didn't get a chance to knock it down. So, within, say, 45, let's say the first half, if you've noticed that, and if you notice that the press is too surreal, and whatever we said at half time, that should have been a change of structure. Right, lads, we need to do the press, or we need to, be the upper hand. We need to control the game, because we tried to, and it didn't work. So change it up, and that's the frustrating thing. It's just simply, again, and I'm going to keep saying it, where is plan B? Where he goes, I'm wrong. This isn't working. I need to change it up. It doesn't necessarily mean change players, but it does mean change tactics.
Yeah,
that's the worry. When we're, if we're winning winning a game, let's just say Forest, if we're winning 2-0, we're controlling the game really well. They come back and score, and they score again. But then we need to change. That's the obvious thing to do. Not necessarily sit back and defend, but 11
he's done similar, Dylan, at home against West Ham when we went 2-0 up. Then you can see the change straight away. Yeah. We decided to sit back in and soak up all the pressure then as well. And you're not saying still continue to be gun ho and being naive when you're 2-0 up and leave yourself open at the back, but you don't sit ultra deep then and avoid them on. They get a goal, and again, they were poor, Dylan. Like, they shouldn't have even got that goal. Yeah. We shouldn't even been in that position towards the tail end of the game. But look, we get the win on that one. We'll get into a couple of more comments, Dylan, because again, they're flying in tonight, lads. Keep it up. We'll try and get through as many as we can. Skippy says we may not get any points from the next 5 games unless things change. Forest, Villa, City, Chelsea, Liverpool are the next 5 games for Leeds United. And this is where Dylan Farke needs to kind of come through this, Dylan, with a little bit of credit in the bank, doesn't he? Because you do fear from that, like what Skippy says. Like, if you lose all 5 of them games, Dylan, like, Farke's sacked. Regardless of what me, you, or the most pro Farke is going to be, at the end of the day, the book stops with him, regardless of the recruitment or the players that are injured or whatever it may be. The be all and end all, if he doesn't get points out these next 5 games, is that Farke will be sacked, and that's just the obvious thing. That's the way football is nowadays, for right or wrong. This also revolves around our away form. If you look at the away games that we have, if you look at the home games we have played very well, we're a different animal. We're talking with chalk and cheese at Elland Road than what we are away from home, Dylan, aren't we? Like, even the Spurs game, you look at that game and you say we probably should have got a point out of that game, but the performance, we were all happy with the performance, even though we lost the game at home, and that's what you want, the performance to come with it as well. At least the effort is there, the performance is there, and if you lose the game of football, you hold your hands up. Better quality side, they deserve the 3 points today, but not that yesterday, and not against Burnley. That, like, the Burnley one, I would still say is our worst performance so far this season. As bad as that was yesterday, the Burnley one was the one that I hated that game. That was
especially against a newly promoted side like ourselves, and to not show up like that.
Horrendous. Yeah.
You said it after the game, I think, with Jam and myself. Just going back to the Burnley game, this is a team that came up with us and fighting. This is the team that we should be being to stay in this league. Never mind Man City, Liverpool, or Spurs, or Arsenal. This is the team that we should be really grinding out to get 3 points here. Not like, and as I said it before the game, I'll take a point. I'm going to continue to say that throughout the season, because I think every point per game is another point for survival. And that's the way I look at it. Yesterday, we didn't get anything from it. Burnley, we didn't get anything from it. Certainly, if we don't get anything from Forest, there's going to be serious pressure.
Richard says here, Bogan and Goodmunson are titled the poor games. They've been really good all season. I agree. That's their first real bad game. They were way below par, aren't they? And not used to that sort of performance from the both of them, aren't we? Not. Guy Location says this season is hopeless. I wouldn't say it's hopeless, buddy. We're competitive.
We'll be positive. We have to be positive.
If you put yourself in, Wolves' shoes, West Ham shoes, even Forest shoes to some sort of case as well, then I'd be really nervous. But we're still 5 points above the relegations on. After 10 games, it's not bad. Now, that's going to change over the next 5 games, and we'll see how it goes. It's obviously a really rough December coming up, but I wouldn't say it's hopeless, buddy. I'm not saying here saying burn it all down, we're going back to the championship. It's these away performances that feel need to be better. We're still going to lose away games. Of course, we're still going to lose away games, but lose them in the right way. Go out, don't go out with a whimper. Like what Mr. Whitesnake's earlier on in the game. Go down fighting. If you're going to lose a match, go down swinging. I understand it's only 10 games into the season, 2 seconds, Dylan. But some players are looking tired. Maybe the international breaks are taking their toll. Yeah, in fairness, it's a good point from Skippy as well, because we did look a bit lethargic yesterday, Dylan, especially in midfield. Another international break coming now as well, just around the corner.
It just stops it in its tracks every time. Yeah, so I'm sick of these international breaks, lads. I really am. I'm a pain in my hold.
Yeah.
Matt Leeds
says Farke can never win with people. They say they don't want them. They say they don't want the same obvious subs, and then he tries something different, and then fans give out from exactly. It's always going to be like that, though, Matt. And hindsight is always a great thing. If he does this, it doesn't work well, and he should have done that. And look, that's the way the game goes, isn't it? As being a football manager, Haaland will have a field day against us. Let's hope he's injured, mate. I don't like saying about any players, but let's hope he is.
Just going back to the top 6 clubs, or them big games, they're going to be crucial. I genuinely think we can pick up points in them games. I really do. We usually raise our game against the bigger opposition. Obviously, Arsenal side, but you'd like to think when we come up against them sides that we raise our game, that we raise the bar at you. But
again, that's not our battles. You know what I mean? They're going to be a free hit this season against them big sides, and it is the likes of the Forest one, the Burnley games that I look at, somewhat the Brighton ones where you're hoping you get something out of it, but the Burnley and Forest ones, they're the ones we need to be picking up points in. Them teams that we're going to be fighting in and around for relegation. Easy says, why don't fans realise Farke has a terrible away record in the Premier League? When we start losing at home, the 49ers will sack Farke. We can't let Farke spend money in January. Yeah, look, it's going to be a big period for Farke in December, and he mightn't even get to January if the results don't go his way, but we'll just have to see how it goes. Aiden says, Farke's stubbornness will probably cost him his job. Yeah, I think at times he is very stubborn, so I do agree with you there. It could do. Everyone knows Brighton built up from their centre-backs, yet DCL was left on his own between two, and that's the only thing that pisses me off about Farke, that he won't adapt to the game or to the game that he's playing. I agree with that there as well, Dylan. We always say horses for courses, and you know what type of side you're coming up against with Brighton. He knows, we spoke about them being the best passing side. He knows about their centre-backs as well. Get a lot of the ball, play them diagonal balls, try and play it through the lines. We didn't adapt to their style of play at all yesterday. We just let them do what we knew Brighton was essentially going to do.
Yeah, look, the way I look at it, I don't even know what to say, to be honest with you, Darren. I'm being completely honest. I look at it.
I've broken you, have I?
Yeah. I honestly, I just there was pure rage. I'm actually getting sweating, just the rage, man. The rage, lads. Oh, this club. Do you know what? In my head there, I was trying to think, right, lads, and I was going back to a video that myself and you done with Dara. You know, you know, he's such a positive fan, and I'm trying to get into that mindset. I'm just finding it very difficult. I really am. I'm sorry, but.
See, look, I'm not there, Dylan. I'm not at the doom and gloom. Like, I'm not saying this is horrendous. Like, there still is positives here, and it's not detrimental. Like, we're not a Wolves, we're not a West Ham. It's just these issues now. There's a trend starting to happen with Leeds United away from home. We're not putting in good performance, except for Wolves. That's where Farke needs to book that trend away from home. We need to be a little bit stronger and a little bit harder to beat and start picking up a couple of points on the road. 5 away games, only 1 win. Fulham performance was decent enough, but the other 3, Dylan, we rolled over and, you know, we basically gave the points away. You can't do that in this division.
Yeah, right, fair enough. And, you know, you said it yesterday about Mecha when he came on. You know, Pirro was the one that should have came on. You know, a goal scorer. We need goals. We need to basically come back in this game. So with the away game, would you not think you go back to that system of changing, you know, midfield, or, you know, even, I'm not just singling out Gruev here to come into the team, but I mean, we have bought all these midfielders and all these defenders to utilise them, and we don't seem to be doing that now. I know there was a comment point in there about the bench, you know, the likes of Boyram, etc. I know it's not like they're going to get us the goals or us to dominate possession, but I mean, away from home, we can't keep going with the same formation, with the same players, with the same more or less direct play that is not working. So if it works at home, fair enough, 10 out of 10. It gets us points, gets us goals. We're all happy. We all have a few points. And we're all out all night, and it's great. But away from home, when the fans are going down for a 5-hour journey to go down to watch that shit, it's not good enough. It's simply not good enough. But I'm looking at it now, that's what I was just thinking now, trying to be positive about this situation. And the most positive thing that I could possibly think of here is get through this Forest game. One for sure. And then it's international break. And after that international break, the boys need to be completely and utterly at it. Yeah. Because that run up is...
And even the comment there from Aiden, after the international break, in that first game, we never do well after that. So that's obviously a worry as well. Hopefully we book that trend. Connell says here, Bial made Rodon and Goodmunson look bad yesterday. We should have conceded more against West Ham and got lucky. Stroke isn't good enough either. I do agree with you at the part yesterday that Bial made Rodon look bad, because you could see at times, and even against West Ham, I was at the game, you could see Rodon was trying to cover Bial a little bit more, and yesterday was evident of that as well. Rodon tried to run the whole back line yesterday. Yeah. So that's where I think Stroke has to come back in 100%.
You actually said that after the game there, and straight away.
We said it in player ratings when we were speaking about Rodon. I don't think it was any fault of his own. I feel like he was basically carrying Bial yesterday. Kershaw says fans are talking like a new manager will get better results. I just don't see it with this squad. See, you just never know, Kershaw. Like, and it's easy to kind of say that because you don't know who's coming in. And hindsight, you could get a manager that comes in and gets a better tune out of these players. You just don't know. You could get a manager that comes in and it goes horrendously and goes detrimental. So you just don't know, buddy. So on that one, it's always going to be hard to tell, isn't it? Like, he was going to get the better out of the squad. But I agree. I know where you're coming from with these players and what we have at the minute. Farke has to play with the cards that he's dealt. So we'll have to see. Goal difference could be crucial this season. I agree, Aidan, and we spoke about it in our watch along as well, Dylan, is that goal difference is going to come into play yesterday. So when you're starting to ship goals, seems to be as easy as Leeds United are doing now, it's never a good sign as well. So we definitely need to tighten up at the back. Richard Hogan says Dylan needs a point. He does. Yeah, absolutely he does. I think Burnley finish above us if Farke stays because Farke is Parker is a better manager than Farke.
I don't like Burnley's football. I don't like Scott Parker at all.
Yeah, really same. Yeah,
and not just because he bet us, lads, and like the Hannibal situation. None of that. I actually genuinely don't like Scott Parker. He was a good player, don't get me wrong, but as a manager, I don't like his football. You know, we got back to Burnley last season. Like, if I was a Burnley fan, I don't think I would be anymore because that football was right. I know he came second. I get that idea, but is that not? That's so boring to watch.
Yeah, showy football. Showy club. Right, Dylan. Okay. It's one of them things. We knew we were going to get these results this season. We spoke about as the season kicked off that it's part of being Leeds United, isn't it? All the ups and downs and the thrills and spills of things. But it's the performance, isn't it? It's the performance that's what hurts the most, not the result itself. But a massive, massive game now, Dylan, next Sunday against Nottingham Forest down at the City Ground. They obviously have their new manager bounce in Sean Dyche. We know Sean Dyche, his types of teams, what way they play, very hard working, very kind of route one, long balls, long throws, all that sort of thing. So Leeds United have a fight on their hands next week, Dylan, going forward, and really to kind of stop this kind of bad feeling that's swirling around Leeds United at the minute. I think Leeds United to pick up all 3 points going into the international break will just lift the spirits a little bit.
It lift everyone's spirits. It certainly lift mine anyway. Regroup, don't be too hard on yourselves. That's one thing I would say to the players. Not that they would listen to me anyway, but I mean, it's going to be a tough game regardless. And you know, I think with Forest now having that momentum to get the draw down at Scrum, would sincerely help them as well. So they're going to want to try and get out of it, especially with West Ham. You know, beating Newcastle as well. So there's a lot of twists and turns in this Premier League. A lot of plot twists, as we would like to say. But I'm not going to worry about it too much. I'm positive. We need to be positive. I know I don't sound it, but I'll put the hat on. More positive. We'll be positive.
The positive hat is on.
The positive hat is on. That's me now, lads. We're going to win the league.
Right, guys, I think we will leave it there for talking points. I'm actually fairly happy that one's over because I'm going to just put this one to bed and put it in my little box and look how bad boys. I'm going to fuck this bitch in the ocean and never think about this game again. It's gone. I'm over and done with it.
This box right here. You know, we're going to put all our problems in there. We're going to lock this and we're going to Good luck.
That is it from us, guys. Please don't forget to drop a like on the video on your way out, and of course if you're new here, hit that subscribe button. Myself and Dylan will be back for the usual schedule next week as we build up to a big game against Nottingham Forest next Sunday. So mind yourselves, mind each other, have a great week. Chat to you soon.